Welcome, everyone, to Buddha Center. Let's begin with these auspicious verses from the King of Prayers. In the language of the gods, Nagas, and Yaksas, in the language of demons and of humans too, and however many kinds of speech there may be, I shall proclaim the Dharma in the language of all. Now let's begin by setting the most magnificent motivation in the universe, the motivation of bodhicitta, the mind which wishes to become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. This mind that, when combined with the wisdom realizing emptiness, can turn us into a Buddha. No Buddha has ever arisen as a Buddha without combining these two things, the mind that aspires to enlightenment, bodhicitta, and the wisdom realizing emptiness. Bodhicitta is defined in Lord Maitreya's Abhisama Alamkara as the altruistic intention to achieve the highest state of enlightenment, to achieve Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. So let's begin with that motivation. May I become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. I'm attending this teaching this evening to acquire all the information that I need to apply to my mind to become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. And let that sink in for just one moment. And we're saying, may I become a Buddha. Let's imagine that all the Buddhas are in the space in front of us, encouraging us, looking into our eyes, just like a mother would her only child. Those enlightened beings who come to this world to show us exactly what we need to do to evolve to the state that they've evolved. Imagine that they're in the space in front of us and they're encouraging us, saying that I achieved this state by relying upon the stages of the path to enlightenment that you have presented to you in an unerring way because of the kindness of your teachers. And we know that those beings achieved all of the results that they have by generating the realizations that we find in the teachings for beings of three capacity, by generating renunciation, bodhicitta, and the correct view of emptiness, by going through the stages of wanting to have a better rebirth and applying the practices found in the small scope to achieve that, to wanting to get out of cyclic existence altogether and applying the stages of the practice of the medium scope to achieve that, and to the highest supreme realization of Buddhahood. If one wants that, one can apply the stages of the path for beings of supreme capacity and achieve that. And we have all these unerring teachings that are presented to us because of the kindness of our teachers, passed down from Buddha Shakyamuni through all of the Nalanda Pandits and the great Tibetan masters. And they arrive to us, as Geshe Dorji Damdul says, almost like in a spoon that's being fed to us in a very gentle, gentle way. So let's rejoice in the fact that that is the situation that we're in, and that these Buddhas who are in the space in front of us, thinking about Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Namgyal Khensur Geshe Wangdak Rinpoche, who's inseparable from Aryatara, my root teacher, and any other being you consider an enlightened master, like Geshe Lobsang Gonpo Rinpoche, and Geshe Dorji Damdul Rinpoche, and Gen Jeffrey Hopkins Rinpoche, and Umse Geshe Agha Rinpoche. These are the people, among others, that I connect to and I see as those beings who I would like to become, who have removed the things that I'd like to remove. So I think of those types of beings in the space in front of us. And then the broader sense, the profound view lineage, the extensive deeds lineage, the lineage of blessings, the Nyingma, Kagyu, Sakya, Gulu, all these incredible masters that received the teachings from the Kadampa lineage, old Kadampa lineage and the lineage of blessings and so forth, and Lord Atisha and Master Drontompa, all of these kind masters that we will owe our enlightenment to. Imagining all those holy beings in the space in front of us, our role models, those beings who were just like us, but were able to separate from the things that made them not a Buddha. Those beings who were exactly as defiled and messed up as our minds are. And this is what's so encouraging when we look at Acharya Dignaga's verse, the one who transformed into a reliable guide motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, a teacher, Sugata, and protector. To you I make prostrations. We see this verse of homage from the Pramana Samuccaya, where it says the one who transformed into a reliable guide. The Buddha wasn't always a Buddha. The Buddha had to transform, just like we have to transform. And we're so fortunate to be able to do so in dependence upon beings like the ones we're visualizing in the space in front of us. And whenever we call upon enlightened beings, they actually arrive. They actually are all here. When I call upon beings and I think of Lama Tsongkhapa and I think of my teacher, Namgyal Khensur Geshe Wangdak Rinpoche, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. These beings have abilities beyond our comprehension and can emanate bodies to every single being who beckons them. But the problem is that we don't necessarily have the karma to be able to see them in front of us. But eventually we will. We see tonight we'll read something from the second Dalai Lama who had many visions of Lama Tsongkhapa. Lama Tsongkhapa met and had a teacher-student relationship with Manjushri and was able to see the 35 Buddhas and actually invite them to his practice. And the merit field would fill in actuality, as Lama Tsongkhapa would beckon the merit field. And this will happen to us too. Right now, we don't see this merit field that I talk about, that is the kind of field from which all of our good qualities will grow, the teachers who teach us and show us exactly what the path is. This field is the field from which all of our good qualities grow. This basis of this field is so powerful. The more we connect with it, the more we ensure that in all of our lives we'll be connected to this kind of powerful basis, this powerful, accurate basis, like the one that we're imagining. And eventually this very powerful, accurate basis will have a much more intimate relationship with us in the sense that they won't only be participating from their side in witnessing us, we'll participate from our side and witness them as well. Once the karmic veils are removed and we've purified the things that are keeping us from being able to see these enlightened beings that are all around us and trying their best, trying their hardest to guide us in whatever way towards a closer, a closer place that is to Buddhahood, guide us along a path to get us closer to Buddhahood, basically. And we know that there's a lot involved in becoming a Buddha. It's saying, I want the most sophisticated result that there is in the universe. So we need the most sophisticated causes that are available in order to make the most sophisticated results. And if the sophisticated causes aren't the perfect set of the exact sophisticated causes that we need, then that most sophisticated result can't possibly occur. So those beings in the space in front of us have done an enormous, enormous job and lots of hard work in order to get to that place. And the only difference is that we haven't. So now these beings are in the space in front of us, making us feel safe, making us know that it's possible to evolve. We've heard so many stories of evolvement in terms of the liberation life stories of these incredible masters. I encourage you to read liberation life stories. Read the life story of Milarepa, who evolved into a fully enlightened being in one lifetime through meeting with Lotsawa Marpa. Read about these beings, and then when you think of them in the space in front of you, you'll know that they can be there. You'll know that they've achieved these qualities, and it'll strengthen your faith, and it also will give you more inspiration. So now we said, okay, I want to become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. We said, let's set this motivation as a supreme motivation. The supreme scope is supreme because its motivation is supreme. Why? Because it wants someone who's working in that realm of practice is wanting to achieve the supreme state of being, which is Buddhahood, and won't settle for anything less. So in order to become a Buddha, we have to do exercises with our mind that undo the kind of tangled knots of the self-cherishing attitude, the tangled knots of self-grasping ignorance, these kind of opposite ways of thinking that we have. And I say opposite ways, opposite in terms of we want a specific goal of happiness, and we actually have opposite ways of being than would produce that goal. And opposite ways of being that would produce the ultimate goal of Buddhahood. So we have to learn how to kind of cleanse our mind and how to rework our mind into a mind that's starting to think of others more than ourselves and starting to think about qualities of love and compassion being something that we want more than a new car. Thinking about the wisdom realizing emptiness being the only medicine that can get us out of cyclic existence, not thinking that there's other things that could make us happier than this actual medicine for our mind, which is free to apply. It's, a free ointment for our mind that gets rid of everything that's wrong with it. It's this great medicine for our mind. We haven't practiced it enough, and we've obviously practiced it some because we're meeting with the result of this teaching. All results depend upon concordant causes. So we've done some work, obviously, in the past. We aren't hopeless. We need to think about, like, here we have this opportunity, and we don't know when we're going to get it again, and we are in samsara still, so we haven't done the job that well yet, but we do have to give ourselves a little bit of credit and rejoice in the fact that in previous lives we obviously did some work to be able to meet with these extraordinary teachings, these extraordinary lamas, and be able to even hear the word bodhicitta, the wisdom realizing emptiness method and wisdom, this union that's needed. Hearing things like this is, not normal for human beings in any time or place. And we're in a degenerate time, which is a very hard time to practice and receive teachings, even though for us, we seems like they're really everywhere. We can just get them everywhere, but there's a lot of wrong everywhere. And the needle that we're trying to thread is, that hole is very small. It's not saying that there aren't very enlightened, incredible masters all over giving Zoom teachings in the internet, but there's more that are not teaching what the object of negation is that will get you to enlightenment. So we have to be really careful with our spiritual monopoly and make sure that those that we're learning from are qualified. And that's why I say, let's imagine those really realized perfect beings, like those beings I'm mentioning that I know are Mahayana, qualified Mahayana gurus, so that my mind doesn't ever accept someone who's not qualified in my future lives. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. It sounds judgmental, but we have to be judgmental. If we're not judgmental, we're not smart. We're not doing what the Buddha said. And Ngawang Palden's commentary on Jayan Sheba's tenet systems, the lion roar of tenets, Ngawang Palden says that if you have this idea that it's all good, doesn't matter, it's religion, it's philosophy, and you aren't willing, you can be open-minded and friendly with everyone, but as a practitioner, if your mind is working like that, it's not working towards the exact reality. It's not shucking off all of those things in the tenet systems that were meant as a staircase to the correct view. And if we're not doing that, there's no way we can get to the correct view. So it's really important for us to recognize this process that's needed to cut and rub, as the Buddha said. And Ngawang Palden goes as far as to say, if you're just going to say, like, hey, we shouldn't really check this out, this system's good, that system's good, this system's good, and not really have an established conclusion ourselves, then we must hate Buddhism. This is like a super famous commentator. Like, if you're just doing this, it's all good and all views are good, you must hate Buddhism because Buddha said don't do that. Buddha said cut and rub it and to check it and make sure it's accurate. And that's what these tenets are meant for. I said to Rinpoche, why are all of these tenets like that seem so strange with all these wrong ideas in there? Like, then, and we really want to study the right idea. And he said, you just haven't meditated enough to have those ideas. And I didn't really know at the time how much that meant until the last few years, that you just haven't meditated enough to realize these high things that these folks have realized to be able to get to the point where they have a tenet, where they have an established conclusion. Parakeeting is one thing, but actually believing in something because you've meditated upon it and concluded it is another thing. And I haven't, negated it or concluded it. So Rinpoche said you just haven't meditated enough. So this is a really word of advice for those who are studying tenets, studying philosophy, and want to just jump to the top. The lower tenets are realizations that we will have. They're wrong ideas we'll come to the conclusion of in our practice or could come to the conclusion of. And if we don't work them out in a systematic way, we won't see them coming necessarily in our meditation. So these tenets are meant for us. These are conclusions we will make and can make not these silly folks in the Sautrantika school and Vaibhashika school who believe in true existence of everything, the Four Noble Truths. And yeah, so let's just be aware of that. Let's invite all sentient beings here to be guests, to hear exactly what they need to hear. I say they need to hear not because I'm being sectarian. This is the cause for happiness. This is where we learn about how to cause happiness and how to be free from suffering. And all sentient beings, everyone in the universe wants to be free from suffering and wants to have happiness. And I'm willing to say that if you study this and you logically look at how cause and effect works, this system, there may be other systems that work just as logically and correctly and have sophisticated causes that that make sophisticated results happen and concordant causes with those sophisticated results. There may be other systems, but I can conclude that this system is accurate based on logic and reasoning, based on 30 years almost of analysis, and not just a little analysis, a lot of analysis, and come to conclusions. Now it's just my job to meditate on these things I believe so that they really, really change my mind, so that I actually could get shamatha, so that I actually could get bodhicitta, so that I actually could get renunciation that's the basis for bodhicitta, and I could realize emptiness because I've studied it enough and studied these things enough to conclude that it's an accurate enough thing to devote the rest of my life's mind to. Um, so I encourage all of you to study because those conclusions wouldn't have been made by me for me. And this is only for me. This is really, I hope this is helpful for you, but I'm doing this so that I can become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. I don't have clairvoyance. I don't know exactly what you need. So I can only do the best that I can. And hope that by accumulating this and by sinking this information into my mind, I become a Buddha quicker so that I could actually help you, or you become a Buddha quicker so you could actually help me. And that sounds like, oh, that's like a real neat thing. This is how I really believe this in the bottom of my heart. This is how I approach these teachings. So invite every single sentient being in the universe here. Friends, we know how to do this from the Lamrim. Friends, strangers, those people you find difficult. And yeah, invite them all to be here as your guest and show them. Because when you become a Buddha, you'll connect with every single sentient being without bias. You won't say, that's a friend, that's a stranger, all you'll say is, that's a sentient being who I love and have compassion for without bias. That will be your Buddha mind. So we have to kind of work through these, to try to like become non-biased. But the Buddha doesn't have to do any of this tomfoolery of mental gymnastics where you convince yourself that it makes sense to help everybody. And we know that it's good for us in general to be able to make our minds this flexible, because people we consider our enemies or who are difficult, we generally get angry with. And I was recently reading Minyak Kunsan Sunam's beautiful commentary on Bodhisattva Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And this is a book called The Great Hum Wisdom Publications. Douglas Duckworth, the great translator, did this, one of Gen Jeffrey Hopkins' last graduate students, one of them. And I'll tell you, it's a real magnificent piece of literature, a huge book. But anyway, it was talking about anger in the section on patience, where Bodhisattva Shantideva says that a moment of anger destroys 1,000 eons of virtues like generosity and so forth. And then Minyak Kunsan Sunam says a lot about it. I won't get into it, but he also says that if there was a race, if there was some kind of a competition that was held in the world, I thought this was really cool. And this competition was to see what could produce the most suffering in this life and in future lives. There would be a clear winner, and that would be anger. So anger destroys our happiness in this life and destroys our happiness in our future lives. So knowing this, it would make sense for us to become more flexible if we're saying we want to be happy. And it's like smart selfish. Becoming a Buddha is like smart selfish. Like, you fulfill all your needs and all sentient beings' needs, by wanting to fulfill all sentient beings' needs more than anything, that makes you turn into a Buddha, which then fulfills all of your needs. So it's kind of a great trick because want to get to become a Buddha starts with this idea that if I only get out of cyclic existence, I won't even have fulfilled all of my own potential, let alone fulfilled all sentient beings' needs. I wouldn't have taken care of myself if I only had an abiding nirvana and didn't get bodhicitta, because my potential wouldn't be realized. Because I could have 24/7 bliss and I'm missing out on it because I've decided to settle for a lesser liberation. So keep this in mind. Invite all sentient beings here to be your guest. Know that we will all eventually evolve to the state of enlightenment and have this potential. We all have Buddha nature. We all have the seed of the Tathagata, the Buddha essence. Doesn't mean we have a little Buddha inside us with 32 major marks and 80 minor marks. I apologize if you've heard such a thing. I don't agree, but I do agree that we have this potential within our mind and we have good qualities in our mind that resemble little fractions of the magnificent qualities that the Buddhas have. And those little fractions can be multiplied and can be made into wholes and made into more and more and more and more and more if we create the causes for those fractions of good qualities to turn into whole good qualities. So I believe that our mind doesn't need to be traded in, and at this very moment, it has the potential to become a Buddha. And this is the prasangika view that we find we find in the Lamrim Chemo and the Lama Tsongkhapa, and that the reason that this evolution can take place, this kind of proliferating Buddha nature that we have, this possibility of maturation of evolution, is because our mind is empty of intrinsic existence. That proliferating Buddha nature is empty of intrinsic existence. And that's the natural Buddha nature, the emptiness of our mind. And then that proliferating Buddha nature that we have, once we evolve it and turn those fractions into wholes, that will become the Dharmakaya, the wisdom Dharmakaya. And once we do that, we will no longer have a contaminated mind that's proliferating, that's working on being good, that's empty of intrinsic existence. We'll have a perfect mind that's empty of intrinsic existence, and that will be our natural Dharmakaya. So it's very clear that there's a system in place for all of this to occur. It's not wishy-washy and woo-woo stuff. There's a very specific system of logic that makes sense. And this is what was so attractive to me. I wasn't told, you better believe or else. I was told, don't believe until. And that made all the difference for me. I heard Venerable Children saying this earlier, so I didn't mean to cribber. Maybe I'm cribbing Venerable Children right now, but no, this is how it happened for me. If you look at my story, and I think a lot of us had the similar thing happen to us when we got into the doors of Buddhism and we were searching different things, a lot of us, looking for something. And they were like, you're here? Well, don't really be here until you're sure you should be. And that meant a lot. So invite all sentient beings here, eventually be able to connect with every single one of them when you can manifest the emanation body, one of the form bodies of the Buddha, to help everyone in places. And then you'll be able to even manifest an enjoyment body and help those really special beings who are in a very special place that they're only in, that are right on the cusp or real close to becoming Buddhas to get their, you'll be able to send bodies everywhere and help everyone. So now we're just pretending and playing and setting our minds and making our minds flexible enough to be able to produce that eventual, like, huge result that can be produced and will be produced. The more love and compassion we produce for more beings, the happier we become and the more abilities we have, because our mind isn't constricted by the self-cherishing attitude. And when it's combined with the wisdom realizing emptiness, it's not constricted by misapprehension of reality. So all sentient beings are here: hell, hungry ghost, animal, human, demigods, gods, the 6 realms of cyclic existence that we're all circling in over and over and over again, forced into by our self-grasping ignorance, Our self-grasping ignorances, our contaminated karmas and our afflictions force us into this contaminated state of aggregates, the mental and physical aggregates that possess, in my case, the three types of suffering: the suffering of change, the suffering of suffering, and the pervasive compounded suffering. And we're forced again and again and again, and we don't know. Maybe sometimes we're born in places where we don't have some of the types of suffering, but there's nowhere in this dirty prison of samsara, this vicious cycle that we're in, there's nowhere where we have real happiness ever, even in the highest peaks of cyclic existence. So, knowing this, getting out of cyclic existence because of what we really want is happiness and freedom. It should be a number one goal. So we're making these practices like the results, and we're connecting with these beings so that we will always connect with them. And now, as a further motivation setter, I want to read from the great second Dalai Lama's Jao Genden Gyatso's book, The Mystical Verses of the Mad Dalai Lama. The great Glenn Mullen translated this book. Lori's mom purchased it at a used bookstore for me, and I appreciate this greatly because I love this book. And so, just a little background information. It's a collection of poems and songs of the second Dalai Lama. And the reason it says Mad Dalai Lama, I'll read it instead of summarizing it, isn't saying like he's angry and isn't saying like he's crazy, crazy. It's saying the implication of mad here is that when a person gains the experience of emptiness, which is the ultimate mode of existence of all phenomena, when one actually realizes the mode of existence, of the emptiness of intrinsic existence of all phenomena, when we talk about the Heart Sutra, we always say that the Heart Sutra is explaining the actual mode of existence, which is the emptiness of intrinsic existence of all phenomena. So it says here that when a person gains the experience of this ultimate mode of existence of all phenomena, their perception is as different from that of an ordinary person's as a madman's. Due to his or her realization of emptiness, a practitioner completely transcends the conventional way of viewing the world. The conventional way of viewing the world, another word for conventional truth, is veiled truth, deceptive truth, the deceptive way of viewing the world. What is the deceptive way of viewing the world? Viewing the world as having a mode of existence that it doesn't. What is the mode of existence that it doesn't have? Intrinsic existence. When does this mode of existence appear to us? It appears to sentient beings 24/7 when they are not experiencing the direct realization of emptiness. When am I apprehending it? I'm apprehending it when I'm thinking of things that are appearing to me, and I'm just saying, I'm giving in and saying that appearance is right. So everyone is doing that. And then a yogi realizes the opposite, realizes that things are being subjectively created, but do exist externally, but have a mode of existence that is different than anyone thinks. And when someone comes to that realization, it's saying the way that they look at stuff is as different as the way that crazy people look at stuff. Like, you think that there's something intrinsically real over there. The Buddha disagrees with that completely. So the Buddha would be considered like someone who is not sane within the world because not agreeing with the world in terms of the mode of existence, but being able to explain how conventionally everything works perfectly. So a crazy person is just hallucinating. I'm hallucinating intrinsic existence at all times. So it's like the story of the kingdom where everyone drank something that made them crazy in the kingdom, and then everyone thought the king was crazy. Okay, so that's the point of mad. He's not angry, he's not crazy, he called himself the Mad Dalai Lama. And in this one of these poems, which is a poem that you would read before teaching or at the end of a teaching, or would be given to students before their practice starts or at the end of their practice to be able to set motivation, to go through the stages and to be able to jar the mind. And, dedication, to jar the mind and remind what the dedication's for. I'm dedicating it. May I do all of this stuff. May I do all of this stuff and become a Buddha. We're not saying like, can I just magically become a Buddha? It's like may I be able to just have the gas in my tank to keep doing this stuff, and so that I can become a Buddha. So these kind of poems and songs are to help us to be able to encourage us, to always be reminding us to don't make mistakes, correct your errors, always be mindful, firmly evase and avert your afflictions when they come up, so we can kind of review, and then you can review the essential themes at the same time of the Buddhist path. And here he calls himself a lot of names. Some of it is to try to be humble. He calls himself a beggar a lot, an irreligious beggar. Beggar can be a play on monk because monks and nuns beg for alms, but they didn't really do that in Tibet. So here the word beggar, um, because of climate, who knows why, they weren't really doing alms rounds in Tibet. Here, the word beggar has a special meaning, and it means if someone doesn't have attachment to anything, then you're free of all worldly concerns, like a beggar who has no possessions. So the second Dalai Lama was certainly not a beggar. He had plenty of funds, but he didn't have attachment to those funds. And this is a huge theme in Tantrayana, where you can actually utilize things of attachment by not having attachment to them. Uh, you can utilize sensual objects on the path. Long story, uh, but without having the attachment in there. So the Dalai Lama, second Dalai Lama, Joa Gendon Drup, is saying he doesn't have attachment to these things. He's like a beggar who doesn't have any of these things, and he uses words like irreligious, and this is just in order to show humility. A lot of the masters, the Kadampa masters here, this is the second Dalai Lama later in history, is doing this same thing. And I found this absolutely beautiful. So we'll read this and we'll move on to the Heart Sutras, set the motivations, and we'll get into the main teaching. So the second Dalai Lama, as I said, had many visions, even as a young boy, of Lama Tsongkhapa. So you see him, you know, addressing Lama Tsongkhapa in the way that he does. And what I love about the second Dalai Lama is he has a very huge emphasis on Lama Guru devotion, or reliance upon the teacher. And you can see how this matches up with the foundation of all good qualities very beautifully. When you read this, you can see how it connects to, I'll show you actually. Homage to the holy gurus, embodiment of the knowledge and compassion of all the Buddhas. Seeing the teacher is inseparable from the deity. O Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru of incomparable kindness, whose mind is inseparable from that of all Buddhas, whose body manifests in countless forms, and whose speech releases a constant rain of teachings, enter the heart of this faint-hearted monk. Inspire thoughts of truth in this irreligious beggar. Kind master, look upon me with compassion, treasury of kindness. I place my hopes in you. Not knowing that you are the very source of all spiritual progress for me here and after. Remember the foundation of all good qualities. The source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Not knowing that you are the very source of all spiritual progress for me here and hereafter. In the past, I have searched elsewhere. So, in all my lives, may I never be separated from my perfect gurus. The last stanza of the foundation of all good qualities. It's saying, may I never forget that the foundation, the very source of all spiritual progress, is having a qualified teacher. And in the past, I searched elsewhere, but in vain. I could not put my trust in your. Okay, so not knowing that you are the very source of all spiritual progress for me here and hereafter. In the past, I searched elsewhere, but in vain. I could not put my trust in your teachings. We all search elsewhere, right? Other places than the teacher being the source of our happiness, material things, health, right? Like if there's so many things that we seek out that are obviously necessities, but do we think that the teacher, having a teacher giving us teachings is more important than any of it? I don't know. Just think about that. If we think about what a teacher has to offer and how important it is for us to hear every moment of Dharma that we can hear, is this what we're doing? Are we searching out something else to try to find just some other way that's easier just to be happy and not suffer? And if we are doing that, it's probably in vain. It says, "In the past I searched elsewhere, but in vain. I could not put my trust in your teachings. But now I see the foolishness of my doubts. Looking back, I realize this was a sign that my mind was far from the path. Oh, Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru of incomparable kindness, inspire thoughts of truth in this irreligious beggar." When the mind is distracted by strong attachment to the things of this short, ephemeral life, then although outwardly one may be skilled at going through the motions of a spiritual practice, the mind makes no real link to the truth. A glance inside is rather disappointing. This non awareness of impermanence is a sign that the mind is far from the path. O Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru of incomparable kindness, inspire thoughts of truth in this irreligious beggar. With attachment to wealth and respect, we become constantly absorbed in mindless activities and thus let our precious human life slip away. See, here we're seeing this lack of attachment, this beggar. With attachment to wealth and respect, we become constantly absorbed in mindless activities, talking about the eight worldly concerns, and thus let our precious human life slip away. This external posturing is just a pretense. Our clever talk is an instrument of deceit. We're so smart we fool ourselves, and our spiritual training becomes mere imitation. This is a sign of our mind being far from the path. O Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru of incomparable kindness, inspire thoughts of truth in this irreligious beggar. While fully aware of the laws of karma and the unbearable suffering of the lower realms, we make no effort to gain control over our lives and instead allow ourselves to lay back in ease. We are like sheep standing in the slaughterhouse, watching our friends die all around us, yet not waking up to the reality of the situation until our own turn for the axe has come. You who think you are so cunning and clever, are you not as though possessed by a demon? Not being aware of this, our predicament, is a sign that the mind is far from the path. O Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru of incomparable kindness, inspire thoughts of truth in this irreligious beggar. Even the gods in the highest heavens, endowed with even pleasure, every pleasure and wealth, must one day leave behind everything and go alone through the gates of death. O greedy one, not thinking of death, you spend all of your time entertaining relatives and friends and in pursuit of wealth, possessions, and power, regardless of whether you need them or not. Never content, our attachment to worldly success becomes a chain binding us to frustration. This is a sign of a mind far from the path. O Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru of incomparable kindness, inspire thoughts of truth in this irreligious beggar. And this should also invoke compassion in us when we think of beings that are doing this and they're just creating burning hell rebirths, hungry ghost rebirths, animal rebirths, and we want to become angry at them. We should become compassionate and because this is going to make our mind happier and be able to connect us to enlightenment. For those of us who've spent our life unwisely and did not cultivate spiritual maturity within, when the Lord of Death finally comes to devour us, the howling winds of our negative karma will arise with strength and forcefully pull us over the cliff, falling to terrible realms. The negative karma that we carry on our back, gathered in rebirths since beginningless time, is as heavy as the enormous king of all the mountains. Thus, we cannot have a sesame seed of confidence that lower rebirth won't be our fate. We may cling to our wealth and possessions and call out to 100 loved ones and friends, but we will have to go on empty handed and alone into the tunnel of the great hereafter. Not living every moment in this awareness is a sign of a mind far from the path. O Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru of incomparable kindness, inspire thoughts of truth in this irreligious beggar. when we're calling out to our friends and our nothing can help but Dharma. Our friends can't help, our money can't help, our loved ones can't help. Nothing can help but Dharma. We will go, only thing that carries forward will be the virtue that we've created and the non-virtue that we've created. And this will be our fate. This isn't something that we're just making up to scare us. It's telling us this. Lama Tsongkhapa says in the Great Treatise on the Stage of the Path to Enlightenment, not to be scared like normal people are scared of death, like, oh, I've got to separate from my stuff, to wonder whether or not we're prepared for it. This is the mindfulness of death, to remind ourselves that now is the time to practice, right at this very, very moment, not another time. It's this very moment. And then it says, every living being wandering in the three worlds. Hold on one second. I want to go back to this. So every one of us will die, and the only thing that we'll have is the Dharma at that time of death, when things start to become very confusing and our body starts to sink and our strength becomes weaker as the earth element goes away, and we start to hallucinate and see mirages and maybe smoke, and then the water element, starts to go away, and we start our dryness and our eyes start to sink in and our body starts to dry up, and then the heat element starts to go away, and our warmth goes away, and all the while we're hallucinating. So we start to first see a smoke or a mirage, then we definitely see like a mirage, and then we see fireflies, and then all of a sudden our wind element is gone. And then there's like a glow, and we stop breathing, but we still have consciousness and have to go through various stages further to get to the actual clear light. And if we are not prepared to know what those stages are, then we won't be able to work with them and do anything at that time except be terrified about all of these hallucinations, and that our body isn't working, and that our fluids are drying up, and that our heat is going away, and that our breathing is gone. And then there's still all of this kind of lights of white, and red increase and black near attainment, and then clear light. All of this is something that you have to learn from a teacher. And this is something that we've done beginningless times. And we've never known exactly how to do it. But here we have the Dharma to know how to do it. Every living being wandering in the three worlds has been a kind mother to me in some past life. Yet the suffering that constantly oppresses them hardly seems to concern me at all. This is a sign of a mind far from the path. O Lama Tsongkhapa, Guru of incomparable kindness, inspire thoughts of truth in this irreligious beggar. Holy spiritual master, whatever fate befalls this irreligious mad beggar monk, I place all my hopes in you. Do not drop me from your compassion. Infuse my spirit with powers mundane and supreme. Peerless spiritual guide, your only task now is to lead living beings to enlightenment. And I have no doubt that eventually you will guide me to that highest of all states. But until I arrive there, watch over me closely. For should I fall into places of misery, I'm not sure I'll have the strength to prevail. So show me your radiant countenance now, and point this irreligious, mad beggar monk the way, leading to Tashita, the pure land of joy. Release a shower of vast and profound Dharma. Cut the root of ego grasping from within me. Inspire me to achieve your enlightened state. It's funny. He has such guru devotion. I could just taste it in there. So many things are similar. I wrote the thing for Rinpoche years before I ever read this, and so many things are similarly written in here. It's just because we're all getting the same teaching from Buddha Shakyamuni, and there's nothing original. If it's original, it's like shouldn't be. It's wrong. It shouldn't be converted into something that's new. It should be exactly accurate, maybe said in a way that's more appealing, but the meaning should be exactly the same. And I feel it when I read this, because my relationship with my teacher is like this. And there's so many of these poems in here, some of them that just bring me to tears, because you can taste the understanding that the source of all of my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. It is through your kindness, O Master, that I am moved to sing these verses. Emotions surge within me when I think of you, and I cannot help but call out in song. I, an irreligious hermit from Upper Tsang, the mad beggar monk Gendon Gyatso, through your compassionate work, O Holy Master, may knowledge of all realities be achieved, and may 1,000 sunbeams of enlightened activity shine forth now to inspire wisdom's light. Oh, I'm so glad I read that. Wow. So now that we have this magnificent motivation and have meditated a little bit on the stages of the path, let's imagine that the space in front of us transforms into Rajagriha Vulture Peak Mountain, where Buddha Shakyamuni is there, Master Shariputra is there, Bodhisattva Chenrezig is there, Avalokiteshvara. The Buddha goes into a meditation on emptiness. And because the Buddha's a Buddha, Buddhas, they can simultaneously meditate on emptiness and do other stuff. No other being but a Buddha can do that. Beings can meditate on emptiness or do other stuff. Buddhas can meditate on emptiness and do other stuff. And the other stuff they do is only helping sentient beings to become Buddhas. That's the only other stuff they do. So they're seeing emptiness and doing that other stuff. We wouldn't know how to do that other stuff, uh, you know. Anyway, so let's imagine the space in front of us turns into Rajagriha Vulture Peak Mountain, where the Buddha meant what he said. He meant that things don't have any intrinsic existence, any objective existence. They're not truly established. They're not truly existent. They're not established by way of their own character. And many other things that the Buddha that are synonyms for this ugly thing called intrinsic existence that we apprehend incorrectly. So the Buddha came to tell us that things exist, first of all. That's the first thing that we need to know, that things do exist. Jeff exists. The self of person exists. Self of phenomena exists. But when we say self exists, we're referring to the conventional self, the conventional Jeff that's talking right now. And that Jeff exists. But the mode of existence of Jeff is what's in question. The mode of existence of microphone is what's in question. The Buddha came to say that things exist, the things that everyone agrees upon in this world exist. The things that people say don't exist, like sky flowers and rabbits with horns, don't exist. But the things that exist in a way, have a mode of existence that no one understands. And that misunderstanding causes cyclic existence, basically, causes samsara. So first of all, things exist. So there's a lot of teachings being given on the internet about no self, and that you just realize self doesn't exist. Yeah, the Buddha said that, but the Buddha was talking about a special kind of self, an intrinsically existent self, a self that existed from its own side, that wasn't merely designated, merely imputed by a mind in dependence upon a collection of aggregates that serve as a basis of designation. So Buddha was saying, the self, when I say no self, I'm talking about that doesn't exist, is a self that exists from its own side, that isn't merely imputed in dependence upon a bunch of parts that serve as a basis to, label, not onto, just to label. Because it's not onto, because the basis of designation, this parts and the label Jeff, are actually contradictory when you start to try to find Jeff in the parts. But it's totally suitable to just merely label Jeff in dependence upon these parts, because when I walk in the room, everyone would say, "Hey, Jeff," and you would see these parts coming in, and you would need my mind to be alive and talking to be able to go, "Hi, guys." So it's independence upon my mind being able to go, "Hey, guys," and my parts going like this when I walk in, that you're like, "Oh, hey, Jeff." And you merely impute me in dependence upon my collection that serves as a basis of designation. And I'm doing that about myself. You're doing that about me. I'm doing that about you. I'm doing that about the microphone, and so forth. So I'm saying that there's a collection of parts. Hey, microphone, I'm merely imputed. There's a collection of parts over there that in my world, this works as a microphone. In my human basis, my dog definitely doesn't impute it as a microphone, probably would love to chew it up or something. I don't know what my dog would do with this thing. but wouldn't definitely think, oh, there's something I can talk through and get my message across to people, because it would there would be parts there, but it wouldn't be suitable for to be labeled by the dog in dependence upon those parts as a microphone, because it's basically its functionality and agreed upon convention that makes it a microphone. And the only reason that it is a microphone is because of that. And when I look for microphone-ness within the parts, or within the collection, or however, you look for it everywhere you want. Outside of it, you'll never be able to find a specific locale for microphone. The top, the bottom, the metal, the plastic, the locale, the ability to transmit, the electricity. What's the locale? Where does microphone stop and computers start? Yeah, when you try to locate all of these things, it becomes hard. But when you don't question it and you think that it's just a microphone from its own side, then it just plopped out of the universe here from a manufacturing company, and they make better ones. And, there are intrinsically better ones and there are intrinsically crappy ones. Because microphones, according to people who are veiled, who have deceptive awareness, appear to exist intrinsically. So it would make sense that they'd have intrinsic qualities. There'd be intrinsically better ones. So if I'm wicked into microphones, if I'm that's like my thing, and I look at this microphone as an intrinsically inferior microphone, my mind will be disturbed because there's intrinsically better microphones, and I'm wicked into microphones, and I really, really, really want the best. And I have things in my life that are exactly like this that I view as intrinsically existent. I would tell you, oh, well, I know how to undo it and talk it out. But when I'm in the midst of it, this is what I'm doing. I'm seeing this intrinsically exists, and that has intrinsic qualities on it. And there's levels to it of intrinsic existence, level. This is intrinsically a little better, and that's intrinsically a little better, and that's intrinsically a little better. And I have more and more attachment the whole time. Like if I could get the next intrinsically better one, I'd be happy. But there's probably even one beyond that. So you can see how grasping at things as being intrinsically existent affects my mind and causes disturbance, causes me to become attached, causes me to hate things. Oh, that's intrinsically gross. Because it intrinsically exists, it's intrinsically gross, and my relationship with it is aversion. So we can see how misapprehending things and believing they have a status from their own side that we're not participating in makes us consumers and makes us idiot consumers. And we're consuming everything all of the time in this manner. We're consuming it like drug addicts in this manner. We're believing everything is like a drug has some quality that, when we take it, it makes everything just perfect, or alcohol or shopping or what is your thing or eating or poet, writing books so people will read them, and getting excited about fame. It's all a drug. So uh, I remember Rinpoche, us having a conversation about different types of behaviors and him saying that nobody should ever have the ego of I'm the worst, because everybody who's in cyclic existence is doing something that makes no sense whatsoever and is a behavior of addiction, is a behavior of debauchery, is because of the self-grasping ignorance. And again, Jeffrey Hopkins used to say that when he would undo his nerves by if he'd walk in a large place, because he was a translator for His Holiness, walking in huge venues, and he would remember that everyone was just as screwed up as him and grasping at things as being truly existent. So what is there to be like nervous about? Everybody's misapprehending everything. So so there is a correct mode of existence. It doesn't make you mad like crazy. It makes everyone else crazy when you realize what the mode of existence is. And now the Buddha's job is to undo everyone else's crazy, while probably people are thinking as he's talking that he's crazy, like everyone would look at the mad Dalai Lama. Okay. The Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge. Thus have I heard once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajagriha at Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a great gathering of the Sangha monks and a great gathering of the Sangha Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi that expresses the Dharma called profound illumination. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, while practicing the profound Prajnaparamita, saw in this way, saw the five skandhas to be empty of nature. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son or daughter of noble family train who wishes to practice the profound Prajnaparamita? Addressed in this way, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, said to Venerable Shariputra, O Shariputra, a son or daughter of noble family who wishes to practice the profound Prajnaparamita should see in this way. Seeing the five skandhas to be empty of nature, form is emptiness. Emptiness also is form. Emptiness is no other than form. Form is no other than emptiness. Here is the Buddha pointing out that things exist, by the way. If for those who are studying the Heart Sutra and then telling people that things don't exist, uh, intrinsic existence doesn't exist, but form exists. Because emptiness is no other than form. Form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are emptiness. Thus, Shariputra, all dharmas are emptiness. Just like that, just like everything exists but is empty of intrinsic existence, everything in the world, everything in the universe that exists and it's empty of intrinsic existence. Form is emptiness. Emptiness also is form. Emptiness is no other than form. Form is no emptiness other than emptiness. Thus, Shariputra, all dharmas are emptiness. There are no characteristics. There is no birth and no cessation. There is no purity and no purity. There is no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no dharmas, no eye dhatu, no mind dhatu, no dhatu of dharmas, no mind conscious dhatu, no ignorance, no end of ignorance up to old age and death, no end of old age and death, no suffering, no origin of suffering, no cessation of suffering, no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since the bodhisattvas have no attainment, they abide by means of Prajnaparamita. Since there is no obscuration of mind, there is no fear. They transcend falsity and attain complete nirvana. All the Buddhas of the three times by means of Prajnaparamita fully awaken to unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the great mantra of Prajnaparamita, the mantra of great insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequal mantra, mantra that calms all suffering, should be known as true. Since there is no deception, the Prajnaparamita mantra is said in this way. And here we find hidden within this, hidden within the whole sutra, the five paths, and hidden within this short mantra are the five paths of the path of accumulation, preparation, seeing, meditation, and no more learning, as well as their emptiness of intrinsic existence. The path of accumulation is emptiness. Emptiness is also the path of accumulation. The path of preparation is emptiness. Emptiness also is the path of preparation, etc., etc., etc. So we find within this mantra the conventional and ultimate reality of the five paths being hidden within it. So this is definitive teaching. So it's about emptiness, the primary subject matter, but then there's implicitly within it, hidden within it, the five paths. So if the primary subject matter is emptiness and hidden within it the five paths, and within the mantra is hidden within it the five paths, then it means that this mantra symbolizes this one entity of conventional and ultimate truth in relation to each of those five paths. Okay. Yeah. Teata om gate gate paragate parasangate bodhi soha. Thus Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound Prajnaparamita. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, thus it is, O son of noble family, thus it is. One should practice the profound Prajnaparamita just as you have taught, and all the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra and noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, that whole assembly in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Kala jibene jodan ba ne ngje de junga yidu da jenju ba ba lama yibu jin zi ni zong gan jo so la sha ze lo aga samara je san samara aga samara jan aga samara je san Aga samara ta jandara samara ya bete ya tong kate kate paragate parasangate buddhiso ha baba gancha sanji ga yede me doji shel badaji me badaji shewa doji dagi baji me doji danji sharing gori so ageren da ja je she wa da me don be jan dan wa da ton ba don jin bon zo zo je daji de jan den da de le sho. Outer mandal offering as request for teaching. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. Holy Lamas high, wrap the sky of your Dharma bodies in massive clouds of knowledge and love, and let them pour upon the earth of your disciples as we are ready, a shower of rain, the teachings deep and wide. Zashi Budi Juji Medoran Riralinji Nide Embody Zanje Shinto Mide Oaji Jogon Nanda Shin La Jo Ba Jo
Je Song Lama Dongpa Je Nang Ji Ju Ju Ka La Jian Zi Jun Zin Ji Je Dao Zang Bei Du Je Zin Ma La Sa Je Ji Ji Cha Ba Ba Du Zo Ye Dang Go Ru Ra Na Man Da La Gang Ni Ra De Yang Mi San Je Je Dang Zi Ji Cha Nan La Shang Ju Ba Du Da Ni Jia Su Ji Da Gi Ji Zi Ji Shi Ji Bei Zong Nan Ji Zhe La Ben Ji San Je Zhu Ba Shou San Je Je Dang Zi Ji Cha Nan La Shang Ju Ba Du Da Ni Jia Su Ji Dagi ji 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 bei zong nan ji zhe la ben ji zang ji zhu ba shou sang ji zhe dang zi ji zhe nan la shang ji ba de da ni jia zi ji dagi ji 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 bei zong nan ji zhe la ben ji zang ji zhu ba shou. And the English translation of that is I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by teaching the Dharma, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Now I'll read The Foundation of All Good Qualities by Lama Tsongkhapa. I feel like we just read it in reading the short poem by His Holiness the Second Dalai Lama Genden Drup. Genden Gyatso. I'm sorry, Genden Gyatso. Genden Drup's the first Dalai Lama. Genden Gyatso, the second Dalai Lama. And so, yeah, the source of all my good. I hope I didn't say the wrong name before. I don't think I did. Genden Gyatso, second Dalai Lama. Jawa Genden Gyatso. Okay, source of all my good by Lama Tsongkhapa, the Yunten Chijoma. The source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to them in the proper way is the very root of the path, and grant me then to serve and follow them with all my strength and reverence. Bless me first to realize that the excellent life of leisure I found just this once is ever so far defined and ever so valuable. Grant me then to wish and never stop to wish that I could take its essence night and day. My body and the life in it are fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first, lest to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I've died, the things I've done, the white or black, and what those deeds will bring to me, follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. Grant me then ever to be careful to stop the slightest wrongs of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of liberation. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality, or the Pradamoksha vows, the essence of my practice. They are the root of Buddha's teaching. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of the suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, every one my own mother, has fallen into. Grant me then to practice the wish for enlightenment, to take on myself the task of freeing them all. Bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough, for if I am not well trained in the three moralities, I cannot become a Buddha. Grant me then a fierce resolve to master the Bodhisattva vows. Grant me that I may quickly gain the path where quietude and insight join together. One which quiets my mind from being distracted to wrong objects, the other which analyzes the perfect meaning in the correct way. Grant that once I practice well the path shared and become a vessel that's worthy, I enter with perfect ease the way of the diamond, highest of all ways, holiest door to come inside for the fortunate and good. Bless me to know with genuine certainty that when I've entered thus, the cause that gives me both the high attainments is to keep my pledges and my vows most pure. Grant me then always to keep them, even if it costs my life. Bless me next to realize as well as I can the crucial points of both the steps, the essence of the secret ways. Grant me then to practice as the holy ones have spoken, putting all my effort in and never leaving off the practice of the four times highest that there is. Bless me, grant me that the spiritual friend who shows me this good road and all my true companions in this quest live long and fruitful lives. Bless and grant me that the rain of obstacles, things within me or outside me that could stop me now, stop and end forever. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect lamas. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every good quality of every level and path, and reach then quickly the place where I become myself the one who holds the diamond. And I wanted to, unfortunately, I lost my place. I don't think I'll be able to get back to it, but I wanted to just read this one stanza again. I'm not going to waste a lot of time trying to find it. I had it marked. There's a lot of poems in this book. Um, oh, I have to prove that I am not a robot. Hold on one second. I'm coming. Okay. We've proven our worth as non-robotic. So I guess basically the gist of it is that, until now we haven't done anything but kind of water the seeds of our self-cherishing attitude. And this is just a sign of the separation of our mind from
what the Buddha came to tell us to do. So that's the gist of what we just read from His Holiness the second Dalai Lama, trying to guide our minds towards the way that if we want to be happy, they should work. So yeah, I probably won't be able to find it because I'm trying to. But yeah, so anyway, so let's move on. So we know that we're looking at Lama Tsongkhapa's Great Treatise on the Stage of the Path to Enlightenment. We're looking at this one stanza about uh, falling into the sea of this suffering life and seeing that every single sentient being who's been our mother has fallen in too. We haven't looked after them in the past, but may we learn to. May we learn to make our minds unbiased and want to become a Buddha for their sake. So this stanza is about generating bodhicitta, and we've worked with the 7-point cause and effect for realizing the mind that aspires to enlightenment passed down from Lord Maitreya to Arya Sangha. And now we're working on the practice of equalizing and exchanging self with others passed down from Buddha Shakyamuni to Arya Manjushri, Arya Nagarjuna, and then down through Bodhisattva Shantideva, who Lama Tsongkhapa says we're using as a guide on the explanation of exchanging self with others, which is this practice, the second practice passed down for us to be able to generate the mind that aspires to enlightenment. How do we learn to stop being guided by the self-cherishing attitude? How do we convince our mind that that makes sense? Because we're having to reverse so many attitudes in our mind that just seem to make sense, even when we surfacely, logically look at them about being self-centered and hoarding, whatever they are, these things are that we cherish, causes are signs that we cherish ourselves more than others. So there's a huge, huge job that we have to do on our minds. And that is why there's so much information and so many texts and so many hints and tricks to use to try to convert a mind like mine, because a mind like mine is very uncomfortable with putting anyone's needs before my own. A mind like mine is grasping at everything incorrectly 24/7. So turning that barge around is no small task. So luckily, we have the information that helps to start to turn it around, head in a direction that we want to go. Because the barge we're on is just heading towards samsara, 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 samsara. It's just going like this. And it would be like if we could turn it around. It's not like we haven't ever been in samsara, but I'm using this analogy, turning our behavior around to 180 degrees from the direction it was going in, right? The opposite of the direction. The opposite of self-grasping ignorance is the wisdom realizing emptiness. The opposite of the self-cherishing attitude is other cherishing attitude. The biggest other cherishing attitude in the universe is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta makes Buddhas when it's combined with emptiness. I want to become a Buddha, so I better figure this out. Why do I want to become a Buddha? Right now, right now it sounds like an amazing thing. I don't like suffering. I like happiness. It sounds like the highest state. And I can connect logically how caring for others makes sense to make that happen. That's where I've gotten to. It makes sense that if I could develop this mind, it makes sense that this could happen. Okay, so time is it 8:10? We'll read a little bit from Lama Tsongkhapa's text. Um, So we talked about last week how Lama Tsongkhapa has these categories here, contemplating the benefits of exchanging self with others and the faults of not exchanging self with others. So we came to find out, like, hey, the Buddhas exchange self with others, and look how they're doing. You don't. Look how you're doing. That's the main theme of that. We read it twice already. Whoever wishes to quickly protect self and other must exchange self for other. Practice this excellent secret from Bodhisattva Shantideva's 8th chapter of the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. So we know that if we want to have the best for everybody, this is what we need to do. And then Lama Tsongkhapa goes to show that we could actually do this. We can logically come to a conclusion that we could take care of someone else's parts We could take care of someone else's parts. And we could actually decide to take care of someone else's parts before we take care of our parts. And Lama Tsongkhapa and Bodhisattva Shantideva and Buddha is saying that if we can do that, it's the secret to really taking care of our parts, meaning parts, us. Like if I can learn to take care of your parts, and I think your parts are more important than my parts, and I take care of you, I have a shift in thinking somehow, and this is radical. I know this is very radical. It's like, come on, this makes no sense. I mean, this is like idealistic. Somehow, but somehow, again, if I'm putting your needs before mine, and that is my mode, my operating mode of mind, somehow there's a lightness that's created that makes me happier than if I'm just thinking of myself and doing whatever results come from that. And you have to be the judge of this. You have to see when you were loving someone in the most loving state and had compassion for someone in the most compassionate state. I don't mean sadness. Don't make it sadness. When you had that feeling of care for someone else, did you feel terrible or did you feel a little lighter? And if you felt terrible, it's because there was attachment mixed into it. And this is we have to learn how to have this love and compassion without attachment, a kind of a seeing all beings as like a magnet would to metal, like is attracted to them as loving, caring, like this. Somehow this makes the mind feel better. Somehow when the child is born, the mother doesn't even know she's there. It's just the child, and that's the most bliss that the mother has. And the fathers all say the same thing. I looked at my child and it was like I forgot all about me and thought about them, and it was them in the front. See, and there was like I've never been happier. And then there's no connection ever made again to caring for another being, and it makes you happy. You just think it was just some miracle that took place that happens only to parents, and then you move on. You don't realize it just happened because you were able to remove your self-cherishing attitude in a way that you'd never experienced so raw. Try it out. See other states. I don't have any kids, but I have other things that I can come up with that I can see how, wow, when that's going on, there's a different weight. There's a different feeling in my mind when I'm able to get away from me for a minute. Doesn't happen that often, but when I can do it, I can see it. Especially when I'm giving a teaching, because I'm really absorbed in the teachings, and I can feel a lightness in my mind. I can feel a total difference than when I hit end. I feel good about having done it, but there's just a total difference that's going on because I hit end and then I'm back. Oh, I wonder how that went. And then I'm back in the way. So anyway, we can really shift our perspective in a drastic way if we try. Okay, so Lama Tsongkhapa is saying this. So let's read this and find out just how wild this is going to get. Take the example of your enemy becoming a friend. Okay, so we've had that happen. Lama Tsongkhapa's reminded us this happens in the medium scope in the section on the six sufferings. Okay, so friends become enemies, enemies become friends. Samsara is not stable. But here it's looking at it in a different way. It's not saying, hey, samsara is not stable. It's saying, hey, you're willing to change your mind pretty easily, you know, whoever you are. Like, take a look at this. Just take a look at your life. You're willing to change your mind really easily about who you care about and who you don't care about. So start there. So you've had enemies, people you hated, who wanted harmed a lot of times, wouldn't want them in a room with you. That changed into, oh, this is someone I like. I kind of like, and then maybe even you love that person. You've been willing to make that shift and have made that shift in this life. Okay, so it starts with that. It's saying like you've changed your mind like in drastic ways before. At first, when you heard even the name of your enemy, fear arose. Later, when you were reconciled, you reconciled with them, became close friends, and now this is your new friend that you're unhappy isn't there when they're not there. Totally, I mean, 180. That's 180, right? I hate you, I love you. You've done this. Your mind can do this. So Lama Tsongkhapa is saying, hey, here's some logic. We aren't doing woo-woo. We're not saying like, oh, just pray to a deity and you will be one. We're all one, and you just have to remove your ignorance that we're all two or five or a billion and just know we're one. And somehow it's all, no, it's saying like, there's a logical way that you can reverse wrong thinking. And look, you've already done this in the past, and here's proof. This reversal resulted from familiarizing your mind with a new attitude. Okay? Your attitude totally changed. Your attitude was, I hate you, screw you, F you, to I love you, please come over. Why can't you come now? So, likewise, if you become habituated to viewing yourself as you presently view others, with an attitude of neglect. So you become familiar with this. Like your mind was willing to do such a drastic shift before. You're now like wicked addicted to you. Why couldn't you become, addicted to someone else? And okay, well, there's gonna be qualms here. Why if you're like wicked cherishing yourself, why couldn't you just like change your mind and decide that you wicked cherish others? If you wicked hate someone and can change your mind and wicked love them, why couldn't you do that? That's what it's saying. It's so logical. So likewise, if you become habituated to viewing yourself like you do others, like with neglect, not like, oh, I need to eat the worst of the food. This is not what it's saying. It's talking about the way you think about it. And it's going to get into this more. And to viewing others as you presently view yourself with a cherishing attitude. So the way you cherish yourself and the way you've been thinking about, oh my God, I got to get this for myself. I got to do this for myself. You just start to say, I got to do this for them. I got to get that for them. I got to do this for them. I got to get that for them. And what is do this for them and that for them? Bodhisattvas are so that they can get closer to enlightenment thinking. So it says that if you start to familiarize yourself with this kind of practice, this exchange can happen because you've changed your mind before about what's important to you. You will exchange self and others if you can do this. And then Bodhisattva Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life says, don't turn away from this difficulty. So it's saying like, don't be scared, don't say, oh, I can't do this. You've already done this a million times. You just weren't paying attention to your mind's fickle ability. Do not turn away from this difficulty, although you were frightened upon hearing someone's name. Now, due to the power of conditioning, familiarization, meditation, you dislike the person not being there. And it's not difficult to consider my body with the perspective I have towards another body. It's a perspective. Oh, wait a minute. I thought it was a truth. See here, the self-cherishing attitude to me sounds like a truth, not a perspective. It sounds like a necessity, not something I could change my perspective on. And that's because I grasp itself as being intrinsically existent. And then its friend's self-cherishing attitude makes sense. Because it makes sense if I intrinsically exist and to intrinsically, to cherish this intrinsically existent guy, intrinsically cherish him. Why wouldn't you? So the qualm that we're all thinking, here it is, shots fired at Lama Tsongkhapa, who's got a really good shield, not really easy to penetrate. Okay, opponents, shots fired. Oh, since someone else's body's not your body, how can you develop the same attitude that you have towards your own? Yeah, yeah, okay. How are you going to do that? And I'm being Rinpoche's translator. This is literally how it sounds like. Yeah, that sounds really good, but well, what about this? Oh yeah, that's just so it's funny when you hear opponent. This is what I've heard for 20 years, when especially like 7-point cause and effect Rinpoche would teach, which lands you at the exact same place where you have to put others' needs before your own, but it's not as like spiky in its explanation. And if you don't meditate on it and you just hear the teachings, you can be like wicked more comfortable with it than the words that are said and the equalizing, exchanging self with others teaching. But they're really the exact same message is being put forth. And if you want to get bodhicitta, you got to do this. You have no choice but to figure out how to care for another person's parts more than you care for your own parts. And this is how you're going to take care of your own parts and how you're going to become a Buddha, because your aggregates don't have to be impure. Buddha's aggregates are not impure. Yeah, Buddha has aggregates. Buddha has a mind and body. Not all of Buddha's bodies have mind and body. That's a long story. Buddha has multiple bodies. One of the bodies is only mind. I know, sounds weird, but yeah, fine. Okay, so all right, it's not like my body. Like, doesn't make any sense. You're making no sense, Bodhisattva Shantideva Lama Tsongkhapa. What's going on? Well, the reply, well, okay, let me just remind you of something again. Now, I reminded you that you were willing to take a 180 on hate. Let me remind you of something again. You came from an intermediate state, right? You didn't have a body that was the body. You had an intermediate state body, but you didn't have like the body that like you're like wicked into, you know? What you had was a consciousness that was assuming aggregates of a Bardo state that was not exactly who you were going to grow into. So start there. You've got this mind traveling in the intermediate state. It's been ejected out of a body that's certainly not your body of this life. I mean, when you die, you can't think it's going to reform and like become a baby and regrow. That's preposterous. So you've shucked a body off that you considered so much yours. And now you went through the intermediate state and set of consciousness in an intermediate body that isn't your body that is going to grow. You have to have your name and form and a growth in the womb that's going to take place. So then your mom and dad get it on. And then some sperm and egg come together. So now you've got a mass of actual physical matter that then the consciousness gets thrown into. And because of past habituation, you say, this is mine, but it's not. It was your dad's sperm and your mom's egg. They came together and then created this thing that can start to grow. And now a consciousness goes into it and says, oh, this is mine. So you've been willing to assign mine and assign, hey, this is mine to take care of, to a basis that wasn't yours in the first place. So this is the reasoning Lama Tsongkhapa is going to get into. Your mind was ejected from your last life out of aggregates that you thought were yours, that came from this union of sperm and egg. That's fine. We're not getting into that. But you thought it was yours then, and you think it's yours now too. But let me get this straight. Did you did something have to happen with this union of sperm and egg that in order for this body to grow blood and bones and flesh and stuff and organs and stuff? And the material matter, starting matter, doesn't have anything to do in terms of matter with the consciousness. Consciousness and matter are mutually exclusive. So what you brought to the table is mutually exclusive with the thing that your parents brought to the table that's actually theirs, that when combined, you could say, oh, this is your parents' stuff. And then you say, oh, okay, well, I'm willing to take care of my parents' stuff for a lifetime. This is the logic Lama Tsongkhapa is using. If you're so willing to take care of your parents' stuff for a lifetime, why couldn't you very easily, assign that responsibility onto taking care of other people's stuff? Okay, let's see how Lama Tsongkhapa puts it. Probably not like that. Your body was produced from your father's semen and your mother's blood. Even though it was produced from a portion of someone else's body, you conceive it to be your own by the influence of previous conditioning. Similarly, if you become accustomed to cherishing another's body as you presently do your own, you will view it with the same perspective that you now have towards your own body. Perspective. Engaging in the Bodhisattva's deeds, says chapter 8. Therefore, just as you conceived I with respect to the drops of semen and blood of others, so you can be conditioned to cherishing others as you do yourself. Logic. Reflect thoroughly on the benefits of being other-centered and the faults of being self-centered. Thereby, you will produce from the depths of your heart a great delight in meditating on the exchange of self and other, then recognize that you can actually generate it once you have become habituated to it. you can actually generate it. This is what we're trying to actually become bodhisattvas. We're not just like trying to like, oh, it's cool stuff to learn. Let's start a Buddhism club. No, I want to become a bodhisattva. I'm trying as hard as I can to become a bodhisattva. And I know that because I want to become a Buddha, but I don't have renunciation and I can't get bodhicitta without renunciation. So I'm trying as hard as I can to get renunciation. And I don't have a calm enough mind to do either of those things that well. So I'm trying as hard as I can to get shamatha. And my mind doesn't tally with reality. So I'm trying as hard as I can to study emptiness so that it does. And when all of those things come together, when that shamatha happens because I'm creating the causes for it, and my mind's calm enough to make sense out of like I really need to get out of cyclic existence, and bodhicitta makes sense because that's the only way I can become a Buddha, my mind will also be calm enough to be able to understand emptiness. And this will be the evolution that takes place. And I will become a Buddha because I believe that with perfect causes, a perfect result can happen. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, the concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer, and then we'll just conclude with the prayers the way that we always do. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun, and the moon. I imagine this is a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drapa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. Any mistakes that I've made, may they be purified by the mantra of Vajrasattva. I don't believe I've made them, but it's very possible because I'm not anywhere near an enlightened being. Om benza sato samaya menabalaya benza sato zena vajita dita me baba sutokaya me baba subokaya me baba anurada me baba zavaziri me braja sava kama suchi me kitem chiyam kuru hum ha ho bhagavan sava dada gada benza ma me moga benza baba maha samaya sava a hom ve. Jarama 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 Dunjo Gala Rajamo Ramo Ajadaja Dunjo Rulo Rulo Hong Jo Hong. From my two collections, vast as space, that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Kadayama Ganji Zabade Romi Mari Don Roana I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri, and likewise Samantabhadra as well, with whatever dedication is praised as supreme. By all the conquerors who traverse it 3 times, I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. Through this virtuous action, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead every being without exception into that pure world. In all my lives, may I never be separated from my perfect Gurus. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every good quality of every level and path, and reach then quickly the place where I become myself Vajradhara. And in the heavenly realm of Tibet, surrounded by a chain of snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness for beings. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And a prayer of supplication to Namgyal Khensur Geshe Wangdak Rinpoche, my root teacher. Homage to Namgyal Khensur. It's called the Complex Yogi Poses as a Simple Monk. Homage to Namgyal Khensur Geshe Wangdak Rinpoche, our precious spiritual friend who is inseparable from Aryatara. I fully prostrate, covering as many atoms of the earth as possible, to your pure body, speech, mind, and enlightened activities. I offer to you drinking water, bathing water, flowers, incense, candles, scented water, food, and music purified by Om, 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 Om. The rarity of having 1 million wish-fulfilling gems is a common occurrence compared to meeting with a holy teacher like you, who placed the complete path to Buddhahood in our childlike hands. Just like Lord Atisha, who came to Tibet with a lamp to dispel the darkness of ignorance, you, kind abbot, arrived in the West with a lineage purer than a diamond and begged us never to be satisfied with partial instructions.
The teachings of the extensive deeds and profound view lineages flowed from your lips like nectar for our ears that elucidated the teachings for beings of three capacities. Now that sound has stopped. All composite things are impermanent. You told us that all of your teachers passed away and understood this sadness, entreating us to continue our studies. The Buddha does not wash away the negativities of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It's by teaching the truth of suchness, emptiness, that beings are liberated. We are not prepared to take this difficult journey to the highest goodness of Buddhahood without your continued guidance. Sadness in our hearts would be too overwhelming. May you swiftly return to this world. Take care of us in all of our lives, wherever we may be, never leaving our hearts and crowns. May all sentient beings perfectly realize renunciation, bodhicitta, and the correct view of emptiness, so they know who you really are. Yeah, teaching the truth of suchness means teaching the emptiness of intrinsic existence to beings so that they can discover it, realize the emptiness of intrinsic existence, and by having that discovery, become liberated. So that's the meaning of that. Suchness means the way things really are, discovering the mode of existence that's in harmony with reality as opposed to what we normally realize, which is mistaken. Thanks. See you all around.